Melchizedek was the third epochal revelation to this planet. The Urantia book is the fifth. There has only been 5 epochal revelations in the entire planet. So having this book is like having Melchizedek at your fingertips, folks. The wise, brilliant, spiritual being who walked on this planet in order to bring people to the light, to show them the way and the truth. And now this book is even more advanced because our minds have been more advanced and we can comprehend more. But this book will teach us the present status of Melchizedek because it was written by spiritual beings who literally, this paper was presented by a Melchizedek of Nebadon. So Melchizedek, remember, is a classification of beings. There's many Melchizedeks. The one that came to our planet was named Machiventa Melchizedek. This might have even been written by him. It doesn't say which Melchizedek wrote this, but we can get a glimpse as to what happened after this being walked on this planet in the year 2000 BC, roughly, for about 90 years. What is he doing now? Let's learn. Please like and subscribe, folks. Get the book out there, get the word out there about the 5th epochal revelation, life and world changing. Present status of Machiventa Melchizedek. During the years of Machiventa's incarnation, the Urantia Melchizedek receivers functioned as 11. So there was 11 of them on the planet at the time helping, but not in form that people could see. When Machiventa considered that his mission as an emergency son was finished, he signalized this fact to his 11 associates, and they immediately made ready the technique whereby he was to be released from the flesh and safely restored to his original Melchizedek status. So that's not a miracle, folks. It's just a higher physics. It's a higher technique. In the same way that Jesus was given his Urantia body after the resurrection. And on the 3rd day after the disappearance from Salem, he appeared among his 11 fellows of the Urantia assignment and resumed his interrupted career as one of the planetary receivers of 606 of Satania. That is the number of our world and the system that we live in. Okay. Machiventa terminated his bestowal as a creature of flesh and blood just as suddenly and unceremoniously as he had begun it. Neither his appearance nor departure were accompanied by any unusual announcement or demonstration. Neither resurrection, roll call, nor ending of planetary dispensation marked his appearance on Urantia. He was an emergency bestowal. Usually if there's a high advanced being that comes to our planet like that, it will make a planetary dispensation. It will change it over. And at that time, all of the sleeping survivors, who were beings that died before they had chose whether to reject or accept divinity, were in this state of slumber in the afterlife. And during the resurrection of planetary dispensation, they're all resurrected based on mercy alone. So that's why that's an important thing to note, because those sleeping survivors were still in this slumber after Melchizedek's life. There was not... Jesus did change the planetary dispensation. So all this... And so, anyways, the point is just to say, do you want to be a sleeping survivor and have to wait until there's some big event that happens on the planet before you get on with your spiritual advancement, or wouldn't you rather just get on with it now? He did not end his sojourn in the flesh of human beings until he had been duly released by the Father Melchizedek and had been informed that his emergency bestowal had received the approval of the chief executive of Nebadon, which is our local universe, Gabriel of Solvington. So he was a success, folks. His mission improved. The first 2 before him failed. Melchizedek was a success about getting the word out about one God. Remember, that was his main teaching. Because back then they had a god for finding your shoes, a god for luck, a god for, what are you going to wear today? Machiventa Melchizedek continued to take great interest in the affairs of the descendants of those men who had believed in his teachings when he was in the flesh. But the progeny of Abraham through Isaac, as intermarried with the Kenites, were the only line which long continued to nourish any clear concept of the Salem teachings. So Abraham was his chief disciple. And he did carry on the word here. The same Melchizedek continued to collaborate throughout the 19 succeeding centuries with many prophets and seers, thus endeavoring to keep alive the truths of Salem until the fullness of the time for Michael's appearance on earth. So remember, you can work with spiritual beings. They're all around, willing and wanting to work with you, knocking on the door. And you just have to open the door. But remember, it requires a mind of perfect poise. So that's why these beings, your seers of old, went into the caves to meditate and all that sort of stuff, because they didn't want to be distracted by the things of the life. Their spirituality was more important. They learned that they didn't have to do that. If you can maintain a regular life, go to work and everything like that, and all you really need to do is just prioritize your habits. It is more difficult, but you can do it, folks. And that's why, oh, and by the way, I just want to make an aside. I was asked recently by the Larson family, is their username, about the quote, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few," which basically means there's a lot of hungry souls out there. There's a lot of lost souls that are looking for truth on this planet. So it would seem like the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. One, because those people, what people need the most in this world is what they want the least, and that is God. When you discover God and when you truly become spiritual, not just half-hearted, but when you really truly become spiritual, you can no longer rationalize your addictions and afflictions, and eventually you realize, oh wow, I can't bend reality to make this okay that I'm consuming this and eating myself into an early grave and that sort of thing. And people don't want to, they don't want to give up their vice. So they're lost, but they're not receptive. I would say that's why the laborers are few. People aren't receptive. And for those people that want to share the word, you can shout it on the rooftops, but it's all about receptivity on the part of the individual. And it's good to make the attempt, and we should make the attempt. But this planet is going to I think we're going to have to go the rough road before people become spiritually receptive. Once all the materialism dies down, and once we'll get our climate disasters and that sort of thing, and climate will do more for the world than what any other spiritual teacher has been able to do, and that is get mankind to change his ways and realize that materialism isn't the answer. So at that point, there will be more receptivity towards spirituality. But for people really to go out there and proclaim the word of the Lord, it's all been said. It's all out there. All the words have been said. All the books have been written, and but when people are ready, it's not that everything is known in the universe, as we can see from the Urantia book, but there is much more to be learned and ascertained. So it's not to say stop your learning right now, but to get new people to come and realize and want to become spiritually minded. It's going to take for the masses, right? And there's a lot of religious people out there, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're spiritual. But when we get our masses to change, there's 8 billion people in the world, something like that. If this channel has 8 billion followers. All right. Michael of Urantia, up to the times of the triumph. Subsequently, he was attached to the Urantia service on Jerusalem as one of the 24 directors, only just recently having been elevated to the position of personal ambassador on Jerusalem of the Creator's Son, bearing the title Vicegerent Planetary Prince of Urantia. See, okay, so that's what Melchizedek was currently doing. He became the planetary prince. It is our belief that as long as Urantia remains an inhabited planet, Machiventa Melchizedek will not be fully returned to the duties of his order of sonship, but will remain, speaking in the terms of time, forever a planetary minister representing Christ Michael. So Melchizedek is permanently, he's stuck with us. As was his emergency bestowal on Urantia, it does not appear from the records that Machiventa futures may be, or what it may be. It may develop that Machiventa Melchizedek core of Nebadon, that the Melchizedek core of Nebadon have sustained the permanent loss of one of their number. Recent rulings handed down from the Most High's Evidentia and later confirmed by the ancients of Desia Versa strongly suggest that this bestowal Melchizedek is destined to take the place of the fallen planetary prince Caligastia. If our conjectures in this respect are correct, it is altogether possible that Machiventa Melchizedek may again appear in person on Urantia and in some modified manner resume the role of the dethroned planetary prince, or else appear on Earth to function as vicegerent planetary prince representing Christ Michael, who now actually holds the title of planetary prince, okay? So it's just, who's the head of our planet? The actual literal head. It was Caligastia, and he went into evil rebellion, and he is still on the planet, thinking that he knows he's been dethroned, but he's still trying to cling on to power in any way that he can, and by using human manipulation. But remember, the humans have to allow it. It's not a manipulation without your consent. But if you're greedy enough, if you are power hungry enough, then you are going to be put into the right place at the right time to make all of these treacherous decisions, because you're just receptive to the evil. And they'll take anybody that's receptive, but they can't do possession. So anyways, but he's the real head of the planet, as you can see, is our local universe creator son, Michael, who appeared on the planet as Jesus of Nazareth. And maybe Melchizedek in the future will take the helm here. So remember, spiritual over-control, meaning beyond. If you look at that pyramid, the pyramid of power there, and you see like all your oil executives on it and your politicians, and then you have above that, you have like your evil one. And that's as far as man goes. What man doesn't realize is that, in fact, it's actually the good who is actually the tippy top of the pyramid of control, just allowing the evil to take place and run its course. While it is far from clear to us, but they're actively they're working their asses off, as you can see. While it is far from clear to us as to what Machiventa's destiny may be, nevertheless, events which have so recently taken place strongly suggest that the foregoing conjectures are probably not far from the truth. So that would be interesting. We have Machiventa would be on the planet if he became the planetary prince permanently, and we would be able to see him. He would start a center for learning and higher learning, and we could, apply to learn, however that would work. And everybody would be able to hear him speak. Imagine, that would be the normal occurrence on a planet, that they have a being like that. Imagine how much more simple things would be. We would have stopped all of our wars long ago, because people are just ready for, if you had something like that, a lot of people would change over. And they would say, I'm going to believe the guy that's been on the planet for 4,000 years, when he says, God is a reality and there's only one God. Okay, buddy. You had me convinced before you even came here. We will understand how, by his triumph on Urantia, Michael became the successor of both Caligastia and Adam, how he became the planetary prince of peace and the second Adam, and now we behold conferring upon this Melchizedek the title of vicegerent planetary prince of Urantia. Will he also be constituted vicegerent material son of Urantia? Interesting. Okay, that would take the place of Adam, who defaulted. We no longer have a material son, so we'd have 2 or 3 because of the Eve also. Very old beings on the planet to help guide us, but we have 0 right now. We have them in spirit form. Or is there a possibility that an unexpected and unprecedented event is to take place? The sometime return to the planet of Adam and Eve, or certain of their progeny, as representatives of Michael with the titles of vicegerents of the second Adam of Urantia. So they're conjecturing here, like everything was thrown into chaos because of the well, it's not chaos for them. It's just unknown certainty for them. But they're not shaking their hands up and why did this happen, or shaking their heads. It's just how are we going to figure this out? What are we going to do in order to do this? But we know we're going to figure it out, just like we can feel with our own lives. We don't have to know those days of us being, why God, why this happened? Those days are over for us as we become 100%ers on the spiritual path. And all these speculation associated with the certainty of future appearance of both magisterial and Trinity teacher sons, in conjunction with the explicit promise of the Creator Son to sometimes return, make Urantia a planet of future uncertainty and render it one of the most interesting and intriguing spheres in all of the universe of Nebadon. This planet, folks, right now there's about like 3.6 million inhabited worlds they teach in Nebadon. It is altogether possible that in some future age, when Urantia is approaching the era of light and life, after the affairs of the Lucifer Rebellion and the Caligastia Secession have been finally adjudicated, we may witness the presence on Urantia simultaneously of Machiventa, Adam and Eve, and Christ Michael. And when they say witness on the planet, they mean the people could see them. They would be taking forms. They're already, like, for instance, Adam and Eve are already on this counselor of, I believe it's 24. There's 24 beings that sit in council on the planet. Some of the apostles are on this council, and they're in spiritual form, counseling and guiding and that sort of thing. But they're saying they would literally be on the planet. Imagine the days, what that would be like, folks. We get one little sighting of a couple lights in the sky or whatever, and everybody's all like, oh my God, UFOs are real. I believe that, anyways, this is an aside, but I think that what they're seeing are the transport seraphim. That's what the Urantia book says, how beings are transported. They say many beings are coming and going to your planet constantly because it is the most intriguing sphere. So they want to study, they can come and study what's a rebellion like. What happens when this happens, even beings from other universes. But they don't need ships to transport themselves. They transport using living beings called transport seraphim, like angels who are equipped to carry beings. As well as either a magisterial or even Trinity teacher sons. Those are paradise origin beings. It has long been the opinion of our order that Machiventa presence on the Jerusalem core of Urantia directors, this is it, the 4 and 20 counselors, is sufficient evidence to warrant the belief that he is destined to follow the mortals of Urantia on through the universe scheme of progression and ascension, even to the paradise core of the finality. We know that Adam and Eve are thus destined to accompany their earth fellows on the paradise adventure when Urantia has become settled light and life. So once this planet gets settled in light and life, this 4 and 20, they're going to go on the adventure of the ages with us in the paradise ascent through the Urantia worlds, through the billions of inhabited Havona worlds. Less than 1,000 years ago, the same Machiventa Melchizedek, the one-time sage of Salem, was invisibly present on Urantia for a period of 100 years. That's interesting. Acting as resident governor general of the planet, and if the present system of directing planetary affairs should continue, he will be due to return in the same capacity in a little over 1,000 years. This is the story of Machiventa Melchizedek, one of the most unique of all characters ever to become connected with the history of Urantia, and a personality who may be destined to play an important role in the future experience of your irregular and unusual world. But remember, that's just all out there. What is in there, inside of you, is harmony, peace, spiritual understanding, long-seeing vision, poise, and just knowing that it's all going to be okay, folks. So please like and subscribe. Thanks again for everybody who's participating, and we'll see you in the next video.